Welcome back everyone to another guide.
So excited!
But first, we have to get out of this disgusting laboratory. Very serene. Now we just need to dim the lights. And we are now ready for the guide. But before we begin, there is one thing I need to tell you guys that we'll be doing from this video moving forward. There will no longer be another combo guide. And we are now in full gear with the official guide.
Yeah, get into it!
Ferra, unlike any other cameo, is like 3 feet tall and has a stance that alters your fighter's movements, giving them a bunch of different mix-up options. So in today's guide video, we will first introduce Ferra, then we'll go over her moveset and see how exactly she can complement Johnny Cage. And finally, as we always do, we'll end off with some combos. And just like in our previous guide with Chameleon, we'll have some in-game examples to go along with everything. So if you guys are down with that, then let's dive right in and see what exactly Johnny and Ferra have in store for us. So Ferra here, kind of similar to Chameleon's 3 different variations, has 3 different stances, with those being Tor stance, air Tor stance, and Lackey variation. Ferra's Tor stance gives you an overhead projectile with a close, normal, and far range option, an overhead and low launcher, a mid launcher that can be jump cancelled, increased movement, a flying command grab that can literally come at any given moment, and finally a damage buff that grants armor during use and can be double stacked for unfathomable damage.
What?
Yes, this is all from one cameo.
What the fuck?
Next in line, we have Ferra's air Tor stance, which gives you air combo extensions and can be called on whenever your character is airborne. In the latest patch and in a couple previous ones, they've altered many moves from the main roster characters, making them airborne during some part of the strings. And with this air Tor stance, we now see why these changes were made. So not too far from now, when we go over mix-ups, I'll show you how exactly you can mix this stance in with Johnny's strings. And lastly, we have Ferra's Lackey variation, where she sits on the side cheering you on, boosting your meter refill rate the more you successfully hit your opponent. But it can also be a double-edged sword if you're the one getting pummeled. And from this Lackey variation, by standing right in front of Ferra, you can call Ferra on your back and continue your pressure and mix-ups and Tor stance all over again. With these stances, keep in mind that you cannot block during Tor stance and you cannot call Ferra from the ground if your cameo meter is less than half full. And if you feel like canceling Ferra during Tor stance, know that it will cost you about a quarter of your cameo meter. But now that you've all met Ferra, let me now introduce you to Johnny Ferra. Let us first go over the different mix-ups you can pull off with this duo. Pair it up with Johnny's plus frames and his 9-frame mid. Ferra's throw can be called out almost instantly to chip 10% of your opponent's health whenever you want. And just like any other throw, this lunging grab can be ducked, which is then where Ferra's overhead and low launchers come into play for the ultimate mix. After calling upon Ferra, you can almost immediately call out for another attack, giving you follow-ups on hit confirms for some pretty decent combos. Moving on to pressuring your opponent with this duo, along with Ferra's grab, we have her damage buff. During use, this move briefly grants your fighter armor and allows you to quickly throw out another one of Ferra's attacks. And many of you may wonder how you will ever get to pull off the damage buff in-game with so many zoning and teleporting abilities. Well, that one moment of armor allows you to react and punish almost anything your opponent tries to hit you with. But I don't recommend doing this move obviously when your health is low or when you're right in front of your opponent, because you only get 1 hit of armor, so 2 consecutive hits will tear down everything you had planned. And if you just happen to be wondering, it does indeed buff Fatal Blow as well.
Here we go.
Delicious.
Adding on to Johnny's pressure, we have Ferra's air Tor stance. Johnny has plenty of strings and specials that leave him airborne, allowing Ferra to latch onto him during these instances and mix your opponent. One specific string of moves that I like to combo this with is after 4-3-2-1 Rising Star. Now, although this isn't the best mix-up / pressure you could possibly be doing with Ferra, it could potentially catch your opponent off guard in dire situations. Here are a few of Johnny's airborne strings that'll work with Ferra's air Tor stance and what'll happen if your opponent tries to poke through them. And finally, we have Ferra's Lackey variation. The good thing about this being an ambush is that you can call it in the middle of a combo or right at the beginning and still get a pretty decent meter buff. The only time I call out this ambush is when I'm comboing my opponent in or towards the corner, because then Ferra can end up right next to me for me to call on her for additional pressure right off the ground whenever I need. This way I won't have to dismiss her and call on her again for her being too far away or having to move back towards her, potentially struggling to get her into tour stance. But if you do want to quickly get Ferra on your back from Lackey variation without accidentally jumping every time, your best options would be to dash cancel into up cameo or try pressing up cameo almost at the exact same time. Ferra will kinda try to stay with you so that it's more convenient for you whenever you need to call on her, so most of the time you won't really have to worry about her being out of reach. Ferra seems to make Johnny so much better than I imagined. Now, if you guys have ever played Homelander, then you may know that he isn't much of a combo god, but a mix-up king. And that's sort of what Johnny and Ferra are, which can easily change with the use of her damage buff. What I mainly look for with this duo is mix-ups and pressure. Throwing in that grab whenever possible, shimmying with Ferra's overhead and low launchers, baiting with damage buff. There are so many options for opening up my opponent's defense that I can get a 30% combo and be right back into another with one mix. Or pressure my opponent with grab loops worth 20+%. So when you do find that opening in your opponent's defense, here are a few combos you can pull off in mid-screen and the corner. Here are the button references I'll be using to help you follow along with these combos, and feel free to pause the video whenever you need to.
Corner pop. Corner pop. Corner pop. Corner pocket. Combat corner pocket. Full up and money shot.
Alright everyone, that is all for the Johnny Ferra guide. Thank you all once again for watching. I hope you all are ready for the continuation of the Mortal Kombat 1 story featuring Noob Saibot, Sector, and Cyrax. And for the guest characters that will also be joining us in Combat Pack 2, Ghostface, T-1000, and Conan the Barbarian, who I just recently learned of, so I'm interested to see what he may have in store for us, especially Ghostface. I can only imagine this guy's intro. I wasn't able to get the story modes part 1 recorded for the channel, but I'll definitely be recording the continuation. And we still have yet to get Johnny's story mode fit in the shop. We already got Kung Lao, I mean, you might as well. But anyways, that'll do it for the guide. It's only week 1 of Ferra, so there's still a lot of crazy stuff we could see her get with other characters. So let me know how you guys feel about Ferra and who you'll be playing in Chaos Reigns.